learning everybody about what had happened. I know the first thing that we were worried about was when we heard about what had happened is please don't let this be a Muslim, or please don't let this be Arab, because
you remember 9/11,
it did bring back a lot of bad memories.
The pain and the way people were treated within that community.
Yes.
Have you felt it as much now? Do you feel some backlash that people are treating Muslims differently?
You know, I really have to say that it's not as severe as I thought it would be, and I think too that the fact that after 9/11 people became more interested in learning about the Islamic religion, and there were just so many efforts that were made by the community to send out a message to educate people. And, you know, it wasn't really, I think there was a lot of damage control. I think the fact that we had social media outlets that were not available at the time that 9/11 happened, where individual people were able to post statuses immediately, Muslims and Arabs and people all over condemning these attacks right away. And
this time of year is a little bit of a wait time.
Yeah.
You know, as we bring Suzanne and Rochelle into the conversation here, I also want to ask you about your mother. Did you fear for your children? Because it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to protect myself, and I know how to deal with it. I have the skills to deal with anything, people's name calling or whatever might come my way. But what about your kids?
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know, the mother in me is always going to be worried, and you know, I was more afraid for my younger child, who, you know, is in elementary school, and kids can be bullies. Doesn't matter, you know, what the reason is. Kids can be very harsh, and they are also the product of their environment and how they grow up. And so whatever they learn from their families or what they hear, they can potentially come back and bully, you know. And so I, you know, did warn my son. I said, look, I want you to understand. A lot of people are just, they don't know what's going on. I don't want you to, you know, get upset. So if you think that you're being threatened or fearful, just go to your teacher, go to the principal. So but it wasn't as bad as, like I said, after 9/11.
You were fearful, but it didn't turn out.
Yeah, I think too the fact that the perpetrators were not even Arab and Russian, and the names were Russian, that had a big impact, a big difference.
We talk about this so much, though, you guys, because we say, like, okay, well, what about the white Christian who terrorizes a school, and how come that isn't more...
how come we're not afraid of all 20-year-old white men?
Right.
Right. Because it's much more common to see someone like an Adam Lanza or even a Timothy McVeigh than it is to see someone else. The other thing that I found very interesting, though, is that in Toronto there was a terrorist attack that was foiled a few days after the Boston bombing, and basically what happened was they were supposed to blow up a train, and it was Islamic leaders, religious leaders, who alerted the police and said, within our community we found these extremists, we want you to do something. So it was stopped. And there's an example of the community kind of rising up and rooting out these one or two people who are doing this.
Sure. No, I completely agree with that. And like you said, there are, you know, evil is evil, and people that want to commit any sort of harm towards any human being or take the life of any human being, it really has nothing to do with religion. And I really think it's very cowardly to use religion. No, I completely agree. And what about the man that was the suspect said the same day sent rice and filled envelopes to the president?
Why wasn't that perceived the same way? I want to ask you about something else also, Reem. I think this is interesting because often the hijab that Muslim American women wear is seen by some people as being a symbol of suppression of women within the Muslim American, or Muslim community, I should say. But you say your sisters choose to wear it, and we have some pictures here. They choose to wear it because it's a symbol for them of empowerment. Tell us what you mean by that.
Sure. You know, I think there is a misconception when it comes to the hijab, and it's more of an empowerment where a woman feels that she has the choice of deciding when she steps out of her home who and how she gets judged, and she makes that conscious decision and has that conviction that she wants to be judged on her personality, her intellect, as opposed to any sort of make a fashion statement or be judged on looks, you know. And you know, it's funny because then you ask the women of hijab, and they think that women that are exposed are being exploited for their looks and their bodies. And so my sisters, we're second generation here, and they made that decision on their own.
You know, the Facebook comments that we asked people, be honest, are you more suspicious of people in the Muslim faith, of the Muslim faith? Do you feel like you treat them differently than others? And Mirzana wrote, with my life. Dale says, I feel they need to do a lot more publicly to separate themselves from the radicals. I think that's an interesting point. Eddie Hughes, I think the majority of us would say yes. It's because we don't know enough about their faith. There's a real communications or PR problem within the Muslim American world.
Sure. Well, I can understand that. However, people have to understand the Islamic religion, and the way I was brought up, is a branch of Christianity and Judaism. The word Allah is just an Arabic word for translation for the word God. And we believe in the Old Testament and the New Testament. We believe in Jesus Christ. So I think people need to understand and educate themselves a little bit, well, a lot more actually. And once they realize, we have the same 10 Commandments, we have the same principles of family life and values and faith. And so, no, actually, I'm not afraid at all from somebody who's faithful and believes in God and afterlife and has rules, and so, no, not at all.
Do you guys feel
I'm curious a little bit, just to go back to the hijab for a moment, just because one of the things we've read about these terrorists is that Tsarnaev's wife, when he became radicalized, she converted and she started wearing the hijab, and that his mother had for many years not worn it and then began wearing it at the end. And I wonder, with your sisters, do they, because there's this association, are they afraid to wear it in public because they think people might perceive that as having a deeper meaning?
No, actually, I don't think that they are afraid. They're more alerted, I guess, or when they step out of their homes or when they leave their jobs. My sisters are highly educated, master's degrees, PhDs, pharmacists, and I think they wear it very proudly. I have an associate in my office who's an attorney, and he is married to a woman. He was opposed to her wearing hijab.
She wanted to,
so it's something they take with pride.
Reem O'Day, thank you